My name is Elena Marlowe, and I'm 32 years old. In finance, people like to pretend the numbers don't lie. I've learned it's the people who do. I work at a private equity firm in Chicago where we turn chaos into models and models into decisions. My life looks like the inside of a spreadsheet. Tidy columns, clean cells, no room for wishful thinking. 2 years ago, Jason Reed moved into my condo on the 23rd floor, floor-to-ceiling windows, the lake laid out like a sheet of tempered glass. I bought the place during a dip. I pay the mortgage, HOA, parking, all of it. Jason tossed in a token amount for groceries and dreams. He talked about starting a boutique brand studio once he saved enough. I believed him. Belief is expensive. We weren't married, but we acted like we were. Pinterest boards of venues we couldn't quite afford. Sunday mornings that felt like a promise. His coffee mug living next to mine as if it had a deed. 3 months ago, a Tuesday in late June, the accident didn't sound like metal. It sounded like 2 texts. I was in a 3-hour diligence meeting on the 40th floor, my phone face down. When we finally broke, I checked my screen in the fluorescent corridor while people drifted toward the coffee urn. Jason, can we talk tonight? Something important. Jason, actually, I'll just say it now. I'm moving in with Miranda. We've been seeing each other for a while. I'll get my stuff this weekend. My world didn't explode. It tightened, a camera lens clicking to a cold, perfect focus. Miranda, his boss. The woman he'd name-dropped for a year like she was an algorithm. Miranda thinks we should pivot. Miranda wants me to lead. Miranda invited the team to drinks. Miranda says I have senior instincts. I'd seen her once in a press photo. Tailored suit, silver watch, a smile with angles. 4 years together and he couldn't tell me to my face. He sent a message like canceling a yoga class. I walked back into the conference room, finished my presentation, answered questions with a voice that didn't sound like mine. Then I closed my office door and made 3 calls. First call, my lawyer. Tomas, I said, I need the cohabitation agreement Jason signed 2 years ago, effective immediately. He didn't ask for gossip, just facts. We'd worked together on a real estate deal. Precision was our shared religion. I'll pull it now, he said. From what I remember, you're clean. He's a guest, not a tenant. No rent, no rights. You can terminate verbally and follow with written notice. Document everything. Control the timeline. Thank you. Second call. Building security. Marcus, Elena in 2304. I need protocols in place tonight. Access card deactivation for Jason Reed and an escort while he collects essentials. No drama. Professional. I don't anticipate violence. I'll be on site, Marcus said. Former Marine, steady as concrete. 6 o'clock. Third call, my older sister. Nina, I said, and the rawness finally cracked my voice. He's moving in with his boss. Tonight. Silence. Then Nina's brand of mercy. Blunt and warm. I'll be there by 6 with carbs and opinions. I texted Jason only once. Me. I understand. Come home tonight. We'll discuss logistics. He responded in seconds, like shame travels faster through fiber optic. Jason, thank you for being mature about this. We can talk this weekend. I stared at his weekend, then I deleted it. The afternoon blurred. I reassigned morning meetings, pretended lunch had taste, set my out of office to limited availability. At 5, I drove home through gold traffic and the kind of sky that makes Chicago look like a postcard. I changed into jeans and a black tee that didn't show hand tremors. I put the cohabitation PDF Tomas emailed on my iPad and laid it on the kitchen island like a scalpel. 6:03 p.m. Nina arrived with pizza and the face she wears when students try to turn in plagiarized essays. You okay? She asked. I'm functioning. That's your scary mode, she said, approving. Let him underestimate it. 6:15. Marcus knocked. Uniform crisp. Expression neutral. I briefed him in 2 sentences. He nodded. I'll stand by the door. If he raises his voice, he's done. I opened Find My, a safety habit we'd set up years ago and he'd forgotten I had. Jason's dot moved through downtown, paused in the parking garage, then rose in the elevator like a bad idea. 6:42, the door opened. He stepped in and stalled. Nina in the kitchen, Marcus by the entry, me at the island with the document. Elena, why is security here? You texted that you were moving out, I said evenly. I'm helping you do that tonight. His face went sheet white. The duffel slid off his shoulder and thudded like emphasis. No, I meant this weekend. I have to talk to Miranda about. You've been cheating with your boss, I said, calm like glass. You notified me by text between meetings. You don't get to set the timeline. That privilege ended with your second sentence. He laughed once, fragile and defensive. You can't just kick me out. I live here. This is our home. I turned the iPad toward him. You live here as my guest. This cohabitation agreement, your signature, page 3, states I can terminate the arrangement with verbal notice, followed by written. Consider this verbal. The email is queued. He stared at his own name like it had betrayed him. Then the tears started, the soft, practiced kind. Elena, please, can we just talk? I made a mistake. I got confused. Miranda and I, it's not what you think. What do I think? I asked. He swallowed, couldn't answer. From the doorway, Marcus's voice was courteous steel. Mr. Reed, you have 2 hours to pack essentials. I will escort you down. Anything left will be inventoried and shipped to the address on file. Jason's gaze flitted to Nina, seeking ally, finding judge. You always have to have everything your way, he snapped at me, anger finally earning its turn. This is exactly why. You sought out someone who made you feel special at work? Nina cut in, voice dry. Cool story. Start packing. He pulled out his phone and dialed with a flourish meant to wound. Miranda, hey, I need you to come help me. She's kicking me out tonight. He looked at me, triumphant and 16. She'll be here in 20. I met Marcus's eyes. He was already tapping the tablet at the door console. Ms. Hartley is not on the approved list for 2304, he said. She can wait in the lobby. Jason blinked. Do you know who she is? Yes, Marcus said. A lobby guest. Jason packed. Shirts into a suitcase he didn't buy. Sneakers I'd surprised him with for his birthday. The cast iron skillet he swore he'd learn to use someday. Every third item had a story that used to make me smile. Now it was just inventory. He kept trying to narrate an alternate ending. Apologies that sounded like auditions, futures conjured with the wrong verb tense. I didn't argue. I didn't need to. The document on the island did the speaking. My phone buzzed. Security feed, camera view of the lobby. Miranda Hartley swept in, all slate wool and surgical calm. She said something to the front desk, turned that practiced smile on Marcus's staff, and waited. When told she wasn't cleared, her mouth tightened in a way that said she wasn't used to being a noun, like no. Upstairs, Jason's duffel filled with the last of our past. He paused by the bedroom doorway, eyes flicking over the art we'd chosen together. My grandfather's Leica, he said. It's in the closet. I'd already set it aside, wrapped carefully. I'll have it insured and shipped to your mother tomorrow, I said. A line of compassion without a hook attached. He looked at me like I'd spoken a language he used to know. 9:18 p.m. 3 suitcases, 2 boxes, a bag of shoes he never wore outside a mirror. Nina and Marcus walked him to the elevator. I watched from the window as he and Miranda loaded a Tesla at the front circle, her hand on his back, his phone at his ear, his eyes on the ground. The elevator dinged. Nina came back up with a tired smile and grease-stained napkins. You did good, she said simply. We ate cold pizza on the couch I suddenly hated. On the TV, a game whispered strangers' names. Marcus signed a brief incident log and left with a nod like a blessing. At midnight, I stood in a bedroom that had grown enormous. The lake outside moved like a slow-breathing animal. The closet looked like a mouth that had forgotten its words. I set an alarm for 6 a.m., placed the cohabitation PDF in a folder called Executed, and sent the written notice to Jason's email with a copy to Tomas. Then I turned off the light in a home that finally remembered who it belonged to. Marcus slid a fresh visitor log onto the console, the pen aligned like a rule. His presence calmed the air the way sandbags calm a flood. Jason zipped one suitcase, then another, working fast in the frantic rhythm of someone who hasn't yet admitted the song is over. He kept looking for me to flinch. I didn't. I stood at the island with the iPad, the cohabitation clause glowing like a quiet verdict. 2 hours, Marcus reminded, voice even. We're at 71 minutes. Jason's mouth pulled tight. Can I at least get my toiletries? Or do I need written permission for that too? The bathroom is yours for 10 minutes, I said. I'll set a timer. Nina leaned in the doorway, arms folded, teacher stern. Brush your teeth with humility while you're in there. He shot her a look and disappeared. The water ran. Nina exhaled. You sure you don't want me to say the thing I want to say? You've said 3 versions of it already, I murmured. The subtext is loud enough. My phone buzzed. The building app. Lobby intercom. Guest requesting access. Marcus's desk camera showed Miranda. Immaculate. Expression knife flat. I tapped answer. This is Unit 23R? Ms. Marlowe, she said, voice polished stone. I'm here to assist my employee. Please buzz me up. Ms. Hartley, I replied, matching her tone. Jason is collecting his essentials. Building policy requires prior approval for visitors to private residences. You're not on my list. I'm his manager, she said. We need to discuss an HR-sensitive situation. That conversation won't happen in my home, I said. You can wait in the lobby. Security will call when he's ready. A beat of incredulous silence. Then, do you know who I am? I glanced at Marcus, who was watching the same feed from my entry console, fighting a smile. Yes, I said, and ended the call. Nina mouthed, wow. I deleted the call log like a superstition. Jason came out with a dop kit and a wet jawline. He looked at the intercom, then at me. Was that? Lobby, I said. She's waiting. He dragged a hand through his hair. For a second, something like shame passed across his face, unguarded and human. Then it hardened into something else. You didn't have to be cruel. I'm being clear, I said. You should try it. He moved to the bedroom. I followed because I needed to see him pull pieces of our life apart with his own hands. The closet yawned, one side emptying. He paused at the drawer where we kept travel things and fished out a passport, the one I'd bought the leather cover for, JR embossed in gold. He slipped it into his pocket without looking at me. Do you remember when we almost missed our flight to Lisbon? He said suddenly, voice softening, nostalgia loosening like a lure. You ran through the terminal in boots. Don't, I said, don't braid memory into this like it's rope. He packed faster. At 8:11, Marcus's radio crackled softly. Boone, lobby. Guest insists she's being harassed. Wants a supervisor. He tapped his earpiece. Copy. Keep her comfortable. Jason zipped the last suitcase. I'll come back for the rest this weekend. No, I said. Anything not in those boxes will be packed by a bonded service and shipped to your mother's address in Peoria. Inventory will be emailed to you and to my attorney. You will not re-enter this unit. You can't control me, he snapped. I can control my door. He grabbed the Leica case from the dresser like it might change the story. I gestured to the island where I'd already placed a padded mailer and insurance form. I'll send it insured. Signature required. He stared. Why are you kind? Because I'm not you, I said, and had the decency to keep any triumph off my face. Marcus checked his watch. Time. We made the walk to the elevator like pallbearers. Nina carried one box and a fraction of my fury. I carried nothing. The elevator arrived with a soft chime that felt obscene. We stepped in, and for a moment we were all reflected in the metal. Me in black, Nina sharp as a comma, Marcus a rectangle of steadiness, Jason blurred by motion he created. He reached to press the lobby button. Marcus's hand was there first. Residence controls the panel, he said gently. Miss Marlowe? I tapped L. As we descended, Jason tried one last angle. Elena, people will talk. They already are, I said. Let them use my name correctly. The doors opened. The lobby smelled like lemon and a fight someone else started. Miranda stood as if emerging from a magazine spread. When she saw me, she adjusted her expression to something approximating warmth. Ms. Marlowe, she said, this is very regrettable. Agreed. She pivoted to Jason. Let's go, we'll fix this. He glanced at me like he needed permission to sink. I gave him a neutral face, neither blessing nor curse. Marcus held the door while they loaded the Tesla at the curb. 3 suitcases, 2 boxes, a bag heavy with shoes he never wore anywhere but online. Miranda kept one hand on his shoulder, the kind of proprietary touch bosses learn in gray areas. Jason kept his phone to his ear, mouth moving, eyes hollow. Back upstairs, Nina and I stood in the kitchen and listened to the silence. I peeled away the blue painter's tape from the incident notice Marcus had stuck to the console and set it in the file folder marked Executed. My hands shook only once, opening the drawer where I'd slid the velvet pouch with his grandfather's camera. I sealed the mailer, printed the label, and propped it by the door. It would go out with the 8 a.m. pickups. Say it, I told Nina finally. She didn't smirk. She didn't gloat. She just stepped forward and wrapped me in one of those older sister holds that recalibrate your spine. You just performed a very clean amputation, she murmured. It's supposed to ache. I let my forehead rest on her shoulder until the ache and the adrenaline braided themselves into something I could stand up under. We ate lukewarm pizza on the couch we had chosen together, and that I now saw with forensic clarity. The worn patch where his heel dug in when he watched games, the thread he never clipped, the cushion he claimed. Nina stayed while the city went from navy to ink. When she finally left, she loaded the outgoing package into her trunk like a relay baton. I walked the apartment the way you walk a crime scene when the detectives have gone, checking the drawers, opening and closing the closet doors, noting what was out of place and what had been there the whole time. On the dresser lay a cufflink from a set I'd bought him for a gala we never attended. I picked it up, rolled the cool metal between my fingers, and then set it gently into the junk drawer where it belonged. In the bedroom, I changed the sheets. It felt ceremonial. At midnight, I slid into a white bed that made the room feel newly invented. The lake beyond the windows moved, indifferent and vast. A life can end quietly, I thought, and still be over. Sometime around 3, thunder rolled far out over the water, and I realized what the new sound in the apartment was. Not his breathing, not the AC, not the hum of 2 phones charging. It was space. It had a frequency. It would take time to learn its pitch. I turned my phone to Do Not Disturb, placed it face down, and told my body out loud what my mind already knew. He's gone. The ceiling answered with nothing at all. The first text arrived at dawn. Jason, I just want to talk. Then another at 7:42. I didn't sleep. Miranda and I... It's complicated. Please, Lena, just talk to me. I stared at the screen over black coffee and a half-hearted bagel. My thumb hovered over block and instead pressed forward to Tomas. His reply was curt, efficient, merciful. Do not engage. If he needs belongings, he can arrange it through counsel. I followed instructions, but guilt is stubborn. It lingers like someone breathing down your neck even after you lock the door. That morning, I boxed the last remnants of him. A winter coat, a pair of cufflinks, the gift bag from an art fair we'd gone to last fall, and shipped them to his mother's address in Peoria. Signature required. Cost me $112, overnight delivery. The clerk asked if it was fragile. Yes, I said, extremely. 3 days later, an unknown number flashed across my phone while I was reviewing earnings models. I almost ignored it. Almost. Ms. Marlowe? A man's voice. Steady, professional. My name's Patrick Hartley. The surname pulled me upright. He continued, I believe you were involved with my wife's employee, Jason Reed. The way he said my wife's employee instead of my wife's affair told me everything about his control. I think we should meet, he said. Some things you deserve to know. We met at a quiet cafe in Lincoln Park that smelled of citrus polish and discretion. He was mid-40s, expensive watch, grief pressed into perfect posture. Thank you for coming, he said. I can imagine this is awkward. It's survivable, I said. He opened an iPad, scrolled, and turned it toward me. Credit card statements, hotel receipts, screenshots of messages that looked too familiar to read. Miranda has done this before, he said. 3 times that I can prove, always someone younger, someone she supervises. It usually lasts 6 to 8 months. Then she gets bored, calls it mentorship gone wrong, and HR signs the settlements. I felt my stomach dip like an elevator. He didn't know she was married? Patrick smiled without humor. Oh, she always says we're separated. We never are. This time, I filed for divorce first. He swiped to a page of legal notes. Your ex's name appears here. Our lawyers may need his testimony, and possibly yours. Not as defendants, as narrative context. I'd rather not be part of it. I understand, he said, but I wanted you to know you weren't the only casualty. He paused, softer now. You handled it better than most. You cut him off cleanly. That's rare. The compliment landed like a bruise. Before leaving, he slid a manila envelope across the table. For your own records, he said, you'll find proof of what she told him and what she told everyone else. Might help you sleep. It didn't. 2 weeks later, another unknown number. I answered on reflex. Elena, please don't hang up. His voice sounded shredded, almost young. They made me resign. HR said there's a complaint from Patrick's legal team. I could be subpoenaed. Miranda, she cut me off. Said she needs to focus on damage control. I said nothing. She lied to me, he continued, about everything. She said the divorce was nearly final. Said she wanted me to head the new branch. I left everything for her, my job, my apartment, you. He was crying now, and part of me, small, foolish, wanted to comfort him. Another part remembered the Tuesday afternoon text. She told me she loved me, he whispered. Said I was different. She says that to all of them, I said quietly. I met her husband. Silence, then a choked laugh. Of course you did. She's divorcing him. You're mentioned in the filings. What does that mean for me? Consequences, I said. You might try getting used to them. Elena, please, can I come by? Just to talk? No, I said. You lost that privilege the moment you hit send. He tried again. I don't have anyone. You had everyone, I said. You just didn't keep them. I hung up, blocked the number. That night, rain streaked the windows like static. I opened the envelope Patrick had left on the cafe table. Inside, printouts of texts, photos from office events, receipts from hotels in the city when she'd told him she was in Boston. At the bottom, a note in Patrick's neat handwriting. When people show you their patterns, stop calling them coincidences. I set the note on the counter beside my laptop and stared until the ink blurred. Then I deleted Jason's icon from Find My, logged out of every shared account, and renamed the folder on my desktop Done. A week later, a small package arrived at my office. No return address. Inside, the Leica camera I'd mailed to Peoria. A note taped to it in Jason's handwriting. Thank you for being the only person who handled this with dignity. No signature. I placed it in my desk drawer, face down, lens toward the dark. Some debts, I decided, should never be collected. 3 months later, Chicago had cooled into that clean kind of autumn, the kind that smells like steel, cinnamon, and second chances. The lake outside my window looked like hammered silver, the kind of light that makes everything honest. I used to hate silence. Now it was the only roommate I trusted. Jason had become background noise in my life, occasional mentions through mutual contacts, a rumor in the digital ether. Word spread that he'd left the city. Some said he moved back with his mother. Others said he was freelancing, figuring things out. A polite way to describe a life that had collapsed on itself. Miranda's name, on the other hand, was everywhere. News articles, HR bulletins, even a LinkedIn post written in the careful tone of damage control. Taking time to refocus after a challenging personal chapter. Translation. She'd been forced out. Patrick emailed me once through Tomas, just to confirm a legal detail, but he included a line I never forgot. You saved yourself faster than most. That's something to keep. My apartment no longer felt haunted. I replaced the couch, the one where we used to eat takeout and talk about a future that wasn't real, with a soft gray sectional I actually liked. I repainted the bedroom a shade called smoke linen. The walls smelled like new beginnings and faint chemicals. Every Tuesday night, Nina still showed up with pizza and beer, pretending it was just a ritual, not a welfare check. You seem lighter, she said one night, flipping open the box. Therapy helping? It's uncomfortable, I said. Apparently, I use logistics as emotional armor. She snorted. You? Spreadsheet your feelings? Never. We both laughed. For the first time in a long time, it didn't sound brittle. Sometimes, late at night, I'd open the folder labeled Executed, Cohabitation Agreement, Lawyer Notes, Receipts, Screenshots, and skim it like an old scar. Not to punish myself, just to remember the shape of the wound. Then I'd close it and open another file. Rules I live by. Rule 1. Never explain to someone committed to misunderstanding you. Rule 2. Silence is not weakness. It's strategy. Rule 3. When someone shows you their capacity for cruelty, believe the first display. Rule 4. Keep every receipt, literal or emotional. Rule 5. Exit quietly, but make sure the door locks behind you. A few weeks ago, I ran into Patrick Hartley again, by accident, at a business seminar. He looked freer somehow. Divorce can do that when it's finally signed. He shook my hand warmly. You look content, he said. I am, I told him, and it was true. He smiled. Miranda's living in a rental near Evanston now. She lost the house, the firm, and half her reputation. I don't wish her harm, I said, but I also don't wish her back into power. He nodded, like he understood the distinction perfectly. 2 nights later, I stopped by a cafe after work. The barista misheard my name and wrote Eleanor on the cup. For once, I didn't correct it. Maybe new names were allowed for new seasons. A man at the next table smiled. You look like someone who knows how to survive a Tuesday. I laughed. Barely. We talked until my latte went cold. His name was Caleb, an architect who spoke about buildings like they had hearts. When he asked for my number, I hesitated, long enough to remind myself that trust isn't a faucet you turn back on. Then I handed him my card. Text me sometime, I said. It wasn't a promise, it was a permission slip. When I got home that night, I stood by the window with the city flickering below. Thousands of tiny apartments, thousands of people building new stories out of the rubble of old ones. I thought about the Tuesday text that had detonated my life. I'm moving in with Miranda. I thought about how clean endings rarely exist, only decisive ones. I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't waiting for closure or apology or karma. I'd already witnessed all three. I picked up my notebook and added one last line beneath Rule 5. Rule 6. When peace finally arrives, don't question why it chose you. Just open the door and let it in. Then I turned off the light, and for the first time since June, slept without the hum of unfinished business.